Hello and welcome to another video, this time with an update to my Mageknight / Paladin build for Enshrouded 7th update. The build that does it all. Ranged, melee, support, DPS, you can do everything, a jack of all trades. This build utilizes everything new and shiny in this update, bringing good damage, great survivability, amazing support tools for your group play, and a cool new look to the table. The less aggressive enemy design in this update, coupled with a few improvements to stats found in weapons and gear, as well as an overall combat improvement, make this one a joy to play. Even flying enemies are easily dealt with the tools available to us. We have quite a lot to unpack here, with a few new spells as well as 4 eternal spells additional to our repertoire. The most notable ones are a Storm Wisp summon, dealing great lightning damage in melee range, and a bubble we throw at the ground to give us extra beef against melee attacks. Additional to the ones we have access to already, make for a great toolkit on the mage side as well as the melee side. We get health leech, we get mana leech, stamina leech, heal, range, fire, lightning, ice, everything your heart desires. We are an infinite war machine. Now, what about flying enemies? Those were a pain to deal with in the previous update, but I mentioned there is tools available to us now. Well, we have spells, a hook ability, and an uppercut / ability to help us with those. This makes them a non-issue. All in all, we are amazing in a multitude of sectors. And there is even more room to grow with further updates. There is still a lot of stuff left on the tree we want to have. Now first up, the stats. We want to grab a good mix of strength, int, constitution and endurance. Strength is the damage multiplier for melee and int for magic damage. Constitution gives you health and endurance provides you with more stamina, which is used in quite a lot of things in the update, especially for our combat. This is great to have. Now food and gear now do not provide us with any free additional stats anymore, which makes this one a bit harder to balance. However, we can make this one work relatively early on by specializing into one aspect first and then moving to the next one. Now, we are going to start with a few equipment items and recommendations I can give you. The first one being to grab a staff with mana leech. Since we are not going to use spirit on this build at all, or mostly just avoid it, we need to have some mana leech in our gear so we recover mana in an appropriate manner. Otherwise we run out and we will have no spells to use, which is pretty damn bad. That's why I do not recommend a weapon like this one that provides you with a ton of additional damage, but has no spell leech on it. You can also find really good staffs like this one with health leech, mana leech and stamina leech, recovering everything at once. But this one is going to be relatively hard to come by. The crystal water staff is much more common, provides with mana leech as well as fire damage extra. So it's a good one for you to use. As a wand, I can highly recommend a shock and ice wand. I prefer to use the multi-shot wands because of the gem of currents. It deals a ton of additional shock damage like this. It's currently also bugged, so if you are not wet or soaked, you can also apply this effect on enemies. Otherwise, you have to jump into water, get the wet debuff. Not the most synergistic gem on this build, but it's the best one we can grab in the end game. Now, as for melee weapons, we want to have something with health leech on it. Doesn't matter if it's two-handed, this build focuses on two-handers, but you can also grab something like a one-hander, like this one has health leech and mana leech on it, if you prefer the one-handed style. I prefer two-handed ones because of the more AoE approach to enemies, you can hit more, so I opted for this one. 5% is enough to sustain you. Now this one deals additional fire damage. Additional fire damage has the drawback that it's not effective versus the new enemies in this zone. So what I highly recommend you to grab a shock weapon, be it the Megalodon Greatsword or any kind of weapon with additional magic shock damage. This one also has life leech on it, so it's a really strong weapon, especially since it also provides you with critical strike damage. But you can also grab something like the Guard of the North sword. This one is found in the castle at the very end of the game or of this patch. This one provides you with a ton of magic damage in shock, as well as a ton of crit chance and crit damage. So it's a really good sword. However, it doesn't have any health on hit, or in this case, health leech. I haven't found the ring with health leech, so I'm not sure if it's in the game for this patch since they changed atomization. So I opted for just having this one on gear and then using a Ring of Ancients, which I will show you a little bit later. That's also changed. So all in all, you want to have health leech on your melee weapon. If you want to just have pure damage on it, something with shock damage is better than the other variations here. Now let's talk about the armor. The armor is a little bit more nuanced here. We're going to use the Circlet of Lightning, a headpiece that provides you with shock damage. So we are going to scale the shock damage on our greatsword in this case, or on our one-hander. And we are going to increase our damage with shock spells. We additionally provide ourselves with crit chance versus soaked enemies. So we want to make enemies soaked through this gem that I showed you previously. So on our weapons, like for example on our wand, we have the gem of currents, makes enemies soaked if we are soaked or wet. So this one is perfectly synergistic to our build because it's scaling our melee damage and our spell damage. For our chest, we want something with stamina because we are going to compensate our lack of stamina through our armor. This one also provides with the most health as well as a ton of physical armor. You want to balance those two roughly the same. You're going to be in melee range most of the time, so you want to have a little bit more physical armor. But speaking of magical armor, you don't want to neglect this one too much because ranged enemies use it primarily. So also burn damage scales with magic armor. So you want to mitigate this in some capacity. For our gloves, we want the staff damage and damage against magical enemies. Magic enemy damage works on all damage, so it's not restricting us. The melee options for this one are not too good, and the staff damage is just a really good, nice to have, so we're going to use the tight collar gloves here. For our pants, we want sprint speed to run faster and stamina. Alternatively, you can check something with mana and mana regen if you want to focus more on spellcasting, but I really like the sprint speed on the melee build. And for our boots, I'm going to use the blood feather shoes because they have mana regen and stamina regen. You can alternatively go for something like mana regeneration and mana regeneration delay if you want to focus on spellcasting more, but I found those to be really, really nice to have because of the stamina regeneration and mana regeneration on one item. Now, the Circle of Lightning is not something you can craft, so alternatively in the early game, I would highly recommend you to either go with the Tight Collar headpiece or the Sunpiercer headpiece because of the additional crit chance for melee or spellcasting and the crit damage. The crit damage is specific to the headpiece, so this one is melee crit damage, not just generic crit damage, and this one is spell crit damage or magical crit damage, not melee crit damage. So you have to decide which one you want to prefer. I prefer, in this case, Sunpiercer's Hammer because most of your damage is going to come from melee attacks, not from casting, and the Circle of Lightning will take effect of both. As for the rings, the Ring of Ancients saw a huge change. It's providing you with health regeneration, mana, stamina regeneration, melee, magic and range damage, 5% here. So it's basically a really good ring for this build. We are utilizing basically every stat except for range damage if we have 2 of them. Alternatively to this one, you can use a Ring of Thunder Snow in the new zone, which is increased mana regeneration and shock damage. The increased shock damage scales also not only our spells, but our melee damage that is going to apply shock damage. So it's a really, really potent ring on this build if you're using shock weapons. Otherwise, the Ring of Ancients just takes the cake here. It's a really, really good one. What alternative do you have for Ring of Ancients or anything else? You want to have the split of mana regeneration ring and then a health ring or a stamina ring, depending on what you prefer to have, what you're lacking currently. But you always should have a mana regeneration ring on you, so you regenerate your mana, even to the point of if you're going to start as a mage character and then transition to this one, use the mana regeneration rings you can find in chests very early on and upgrade those throughout. And once you find the Ring of Ancients, then you're going to slap this one on and rock it 2 times on your gear. For our shield, we want to have a Prismatic Ward with mana regeneration on this one. This one is the best one in the game currently, so the Prismatic Ward at level 43. Next up, let's have a look at our kit. Light attacks. We're going to perpetually hit enemies like this one. Has a lot of AoE, hits behind us, hits in front of us, really, really good. In the skill tree, you will be able to scale this one here for 11 points. So you have to take out Bash and Strength, and then you get Whirlwind Crescendo. Takes 75 stamina, so it's really intense on that. 1, 2, and 3. Afterwards, you're stun locked. You stun yourself. You cannot move around. You will have to wait, and you cannot even dodge out of attacks. This one is definitely not worth it since it's just an AoE attack. Nothing to write home about. I found this one very disappointing, so you don't actually want to have this. The same is true for Crash Down Attack. We're going to unlock this one. I'll show you. So you jump and then you hit the ground and you have to wait a little bit until you can move. You cannot cancel out of this one, so it's going to cost you your life if you stand around. You also need to have crashed on force with the double jump, so you double jump and then do the attack. The AoE is also relatively small. The animation has more oomph to it, as you can see, but it's actually just this small, tiny impact radius. So not a good skill to have. So we're going to remove those. Instead, the two abilities we want to take is upward slash as well as the evasion attack with the blink. For evasion attack, you can evade and then deal a hit like this one. Relatively fast, not the best, but still it's something you can do to overwhelm enemies. And additionally, you have versus ranged enemies this one. It's an uppercut. You can double jump and uppercut. This will hit enemies in the air. It's a relatively good skill to have. Now, for your spells, we're going to start with the heal spells. This one, bloop, blop, bloop, and it's going to heal you. If the last blob hits you while you're already down on the ground, you're going to get revived, as seen in the clip right now. It's a really potent spell. You're best in slot for healing, so you don't actually need to rely on health regeneration, especially since I have hemotoxin and this prevents health regeneration to kick in. So we are mostly just healing with heal channel and heal pots, and that's it. The other heal spells for your friends is going to be the beam. Really, really potent, so you can heal your friends. Really, really nice to have. So that's a good support spell. And then the new spell, Magic Shield. This one costs a ton of mana, so you need to take care of it. It also takes 4 seconds to cast. Pops this bubble down, so when you are inside, as long as it's on the ground, you're going to replenish your shield for 350 shield. It's going to take care of melee damage. So once you walk out, you still have it. It's a buff on your buff bar. So in the character status details, you'll find it. Where is it? Here. Magic Shield. Protects against melee damage. I found this one to be really nice. Prepare for a fight. You're going to see a lot of enemies coming towards you. So you pop down this bubble and then you're going to tank the damage. The second spell that's also really good is the Shock Wisp. I have been using this one regularly on a melee build like this. Summons this wisp and it's going to shock enemies right next to us constantly. Deals a ton of damage and it's really nice because you don't have to focus on casting. You can just whack enemies and it's still going to hit them with the wisp. So it's really potent additional damage. Same with Fire Aura. It stacks up quite a lot. Then for our other spells, we now have a new spell that's called Firebolt. This one is accessible extremely early on. Once you craft your first staff, it has a ton of range. You can see we hit the mountain down here. It's nearly as good as just a regular bow or some puzzles instead of our fireball, because the fireball will then destroy something and everything around it. So we don't like that if we want to keep the environment intact. So for Fireball, the second Eternal spell that we also get here, and Ice Bolt as well, both spells are really good. Fireball has more AoE. It's really potent in dealing with large groups of enemies that you need to kite out. And Eternal Ice Bolt leaves behind ground like this, and we can whack enemies on shield ground. We don't get shield, but they do, and then they cannot react as much. So it's a really nice debuff on enemies that we can utilize to hit them with our axe. Now last but not least, our lightning spells. We have Channel Lightning. This one, we can fry enemies really, really well with this one and stunlock them through the use of a very simple mechanic. Down here, Terror stuns enemies on critical strikes for 4 seconds. We crit quite often, especially on soaked enemies. So we want to apply soaked through our wand, switch to our axe, then Channel Lightning, and we have more crit strike chance and can stunlock enemies. We can also get Eternal Chain Lightning through the previous zone, so the mountain zone, by just grinding some silver here. And that's what you're going to use at the start. Acidic Bite, not a good spell anymore. Deals very low damage. Basically everything has a lot of poison resistance and it doesn't scale at all. So I don't like to use it at all. Now on how to get those spells. Spoiler free if you want to. Wait a little bit and then I will show you where you find it on the map. Okay, now to start, Balthazar will give you the quest, or the Alchemist will give you the quest for this one. It's here, Hidden Tomb. He will send you here. Complete this one and then we will have notes that you have to go to the next tomb. The first 3 are really easy to find. Hidden Tomb is here. The second one is here at those 4 dots. Here you will find the Eternal Fireball too. Then once you move to the Spire, the second one is underneath here. Here you will find the Eternal Heal Beam, and then everything breaks down. It's really hard to find the next spells if you just follow the description. First you're going to think, yeah, it's somewhere around here, Blackmire, because there is a mineshaft, right? So you think it's the Ancient Passage, but it's not. You have to move all the way across the chasm right here, and then here you'll find a tomb at this location. This tomb will then get you to a grave right here. At the grave you can find a really good chest, a golden chest that can contain equipment, and it will contain the lightning spell, so the lightning channel, eternal one. But this one can be accessed early. You can walk all the way here across the map and then just jump across the chasm here to the grave and loot the grave without going through the dungeon. No combat required, so you can grab this one really, really early. And the last spell is all the way up here. Here is another tomb. At the end of this tomb, and also something you have to loot, is the ice spell, so Eternal Ice Bolt. What about the Magic Shield and the Shock Wisp? So at the Alchemist, you will be able to craft Shroud Sludge. This will unlock the Shock Wisp, and the Magic Shield will be unlocked through Bursting Fellheart, which is dropped by Kindle Waste Fell enemies. Some of them have like this glowing head that you have to just kill and then loot, and you will be able to then craft the Magic Shield. All of those materials are relatively easy to find. So the Iron Dust, Grind Mill upgrades, Shroud Sludge you can craft at the Alchemist, Cursed Shroud Sack, you need to just kill enemies and then loot those. But Electric Nerve is a little bit different. You need to fish up a specific fish, the Shock Fin, as well as mine gold coins, which are found plenty in this zone. But the Shock Fin is an epic fish. Now, an epic fish is relatively hard to come by, especially early. You need a frog, as well as an excellent fishing rod or a lucky fishing rod, and then you have to fish for shock fins. Shock fins can be fished either at the Dream Lake, at the Old Captain's Rest, or right here, custom marker. Here is another fishing spot, so you can fish those, and then you have to craft them to craft the shock wisps. I guarantee you, you won't be able to do this in the normal or even the very hard fishing requirements. So you need to go to the difficulty settings in the world settings, then go down here for fishing difficulty, go to very easy, and you omit the minigame. So you just fish whatever you find. You don't have to play a minigame, which omits all the other requirements. If you just want to focus on this, that's your choice. As for the clever game mechanics, if you see an enemy is going to kill you or you're going to die and cannot heal it, you can use the Eternal Channel Heal like this and then run around. And if you die while the last blob hits you, it will revive you. So you can actually prevent damage from killing you, and well, you still lose all your comfort and you still lose your food buffs, but you are revived and don't have to run back to this specific section. The second one is you can jump around like this and hold your casting or charging button, and it will charge your spell while moving around. Gives you quite a lot of mobility, especially when you choose your spells and you have to think a little bit more or whatever you like. But afterwards you can shoot this one every time you move, so you don't stand around stationary. The AoE of those spells is actually quite amazing, so you can hit enemies for quite a lot of damage despite them not being inside the center of the impact. So also keep that in mind. Next, let's have a look at the skill tree progression. We are going to start with a few extras. Depending on if you want to start as a melee or as a mage, it's your choice, so you have to think about what you want to do. I prefer to go for the mage. So what I'm telling you to do is to just scale one intelligence point here or something like this or here, and then go to quick charge. Quick charge reduces the time staffs required to charge up a spell by 50%. Without this one, staff feel really, really bad. Next, we're going to go for the double jump, so all the way here, as well as Wanderlust, so traversal is better. And then quality gear, miner, and mason. Those are the requirements at the very start. Afterwards, you can do whatever you want. If you want to play more around the spells, go for it and pick more nodes here. Really good ones are Radiant Aura, Water Aura for healing, Terror for the spell stuns, Bloodletting, really good for sustain. So when you crit with a spell. You have a 50% chance to spawn the orbs, but once you pick this one, you need good metabolism. You also have Grounding Hook as well as Giant Slayer. So you can pull yourself to bigger enemies or pull flying enemies towards you so you can whack them with a melee weapon. And if you want to focus more on the melee side, you can just go for the two-handed nodes here, heavy specialization in Blood Rage, go for the upward slash, and then go for the tank nodes. Weave in whatever you want. So there is evasion attack. Here you have blink. You can go for additional nodes here for a little bit more health. Updraft is also a really good one. So together with all the information, I will show you the skill tree really quick. From top to bottom. And then it's up to you. Everything you pick is a boost to your performance in some capacity. So there is really good nodes still left here. Strength here, that's 10% more damage. You have all the intelligence nodes here. You can pick up 10% ice damage, shock damage. You can pick up additional fire resistance here, really good versus the burn. The poison resistance here, Snake Eater and Mithril. You can emit two-handed weapons and then just go for one-handed ones. Right here, you can pick those. Really good for the slashing damage or cutting damage here. Two-handed is really, really potent. Greatsword damage, 10% here. So all of this is really, really good on you. And if you want to go more on the supportive side, you can go for Martyr or pick up Healing Revive. So a ton of options here for you to pick and choose depending on your preference. Now for the food, you want to use always some kind of meat for additional health, especially with the node that gives you 15% additional more health on top. Then food like a mushroom special, great stamina regeneration and melee damage, and something for your magic damage. You can go for omelette, glow soup, alk salad in the new zone. There is also an equivalent like this one I just ran out. So it has mana regeneration instead of stamina regeneration and magic damage instead of melee damage. You are going to also use your fish dish for maximum oxygen. So what you're going to do is to either omit the melee damage or the magic damage and then pick up something like the tomato fish soup and have something possibly for fell enemies, additional 15% here, or additional health regeneration, stamina regeneration, mana regeneration. You can pick up additional health and damage against wildlife and wild beasts instead of the meat wrap and the magic damage here. So there is a ton of options here. Same here, stamina and mana regeneration for the spice tea. Really important buff on your character is also rested. So you need to have this one boosted as much as possible for increased stamina and maximum regeneration and so on. So it's much more comfortable to play this character. You can also use health potions when you're drowning. So I will show you real quick. When we jump down to the water, into the water and wait for 30 seconds. So we are rapidly losing health. Our health bar is still ticking, so water aura kicks in. But you can use a health potion underwater to heal back to full. So you can scam your way through, well, diving. And once we touch the surface, we regenerate immediately all of our oxygen and we start regenerating health. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time and bye.